Today we'll be covering everything we currently know about midi-chlorians in canon material. According to Qui-gon Jinn, midi-chlorians were microscopic yet intelligent life forms that resided within the cells of all living organisms. They formed a symbiotic relationship with their hosts, and if enough midi-chlorians were present, the host would become force sensitive. There were different degrees of force sensitivity. Some beings were able to feel the presence of the Force, some were able to hear the guidance of the Force, and some were able to gain incredible powers through the Force. Midi-chlorians originated from a planet known as the Wellspring of Life that was visited by Yoda near the end of the Clone Wars. Not only did they form the foundation of life itself, but they also served as a link between the living Force and the cosmic Force. The living Force was created by all living things. It was the aspect of the Force that was able to be controlled by the Jedi and other Force sensitives. The cosmic Force was what bound the galaxy together. When the Jedi discussed the will of the Force, they were speaking about the cosmic Force. It's unknown when the discovery of midi-chlorians actually happened, but in the final decade before the Clone Wars, both the Jedi and the Sith were aware of their existence. The Jedi began using blood tests to identify Force-sensitive individuals. When Qui-Gon found Anakin Skywalker, he tested his blood to find a count of over 20,000, the highest measurement on record. The Sith also studied midi-chlorians. As the foundation of life, the Sith Lord Darth Plagueis believed they could be manipulated to prolong life indefinitely, or to create completely new life. Ironically, it was a select few Jedi that truly discovered the secret to life after death, using the midi-chlorians and the light side of the Force to preserve their identities as Force ghosts. Now to step outside of the universe a little bit, people really didn't like midi-chlorians when they were first introduced in The Phantom Menace. According to the original trilogy, all you really needed to be Force-sensitive was to properly connect oneself to the universe. It was a very Zen approach. But now all of a sudden, in order to be a Jedi, you have to have a certain number of these microscopic organisms in your blood? Well, yes and no. I'll be basing this next section off of a really cool Twitter thread from Pablo Hidalgo, so it's kind of in this weird area where it hasn't been explicitly covered in a canon story, but he also knows more than we do, and I trust his input here. I'll link to that thread in the description. He says that the midi-chlorian prerequisite to become a Jedi did exist, but only to show that the Jedi Order of that era had kind of lost their way. They were relying on a soulless blood test to approximate an individual's potential in the Force. Technically, someone with a midi-chlorian count of 2 could still become a great Jedi Master, but the Jedi Order had fallen into these systemized methods at the expense of spirituality and intuition. In Pablo's words, they were more Order than Jedi. In Star Wars Rebels, Yoda openly admits to Ezra that the Jedi had lost their way. So most of the Jedi in the prequel trilogy are supposed to represent a very clinical, less spiritual version of the Jedi Order. Characters like Qui-Gon were not normal, and they were even chastised for stepping outside of the bounds the Council had set up. Yes, Qui-Gon did request the midi-chlorian count of Anakin, but he's still a product of that time, and a high count in a blood test is still an accurate metric for potential. The point is that midi-chlorian count isn't the only metric. I think The Phantom Menace did a poor job of making that point. The midi-chlorians themselves were highlighted and not so much the implications of using a blood test to enter the Jedi Order. So when it comes to midi-chlorians, remember that they are microscopic cells that reside in the blood of all living things, especially those beings that are naturally talented in the Force. They link the living Force to the cosmic Force and are the building blocks of life in the Star Wars galaxy. But also remember that they are not the end-all be-all to Force sensitivity. That's it for today. Hopefully that clears up any of the misconceptions regarding midi-chlorians. If there are any other topics you think need clearing up, please leave those in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook by clicking on the links in the description, and consider checking out my Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.